Zeke is gone, but the Buckeyes bring in a load of talent to fill in the gap for 2016. Mark Rogers TV breaking down positions around college football. We stop in Columbus with Joe Dexter from Buckeye Battle Cry. You can join him each and every week. The podcast is Script Ohio on the V Sportos Buckeye Sports Radio Network. Joe, thanks so much for joining us.
Glad to be here.
All right. A lot of names that people don't know around college football unless they really are tuned into Ohio State football. Let's start with Braxton Dunn. He's the old man on campus. He's the guy that has put in his time. And if we've seen other situations in past college football, the way things were done is he'd probably get the nod, but maybe not necessarily now. What does Dunn bring to the table after just 14 carries last year?
He's a bowling ball. That guy, when he touches the football, is a bowling ball. Now, the question is security with the football. He's a bowling ball, but he's got to hold on to it. And that's one of the issues that has bugged him in the past. Wasn't really bought into the program and what Urban Meyer was expected of guys. As a youngster, he wants special teams guys to really step up, own that role, and then get an opportunity as a player at their skill position. He bought into that last year as a special teamer and really took to heart his role on the team. From there, he got more opportunities to carry the football, and he did hold on to the football in the limited opportunities that he had. And through that, I'm not saying that Braxton Dunn's going to be a starter on this team or that he's even going to get a majority of carries, but he'll get an opportunity in 2016 with a running back position that's wide open right now as in a sort. I mean, Mike Weber's still your horse that probably will get the majority of the carries, but as we remember in 2014, Ezekiel Elliott took the world by storm, but he wasn't the starting quarter or the starting running back at the beginning of the season. It was Curtis Samuel. So it'll figure things out. Braxton Dunn will get his opportunity. I'm just not sure if he will be the guy that gets the majority of the carries.
Joe, you brought up that name, Curtis Samuel. In my eyes, he's kind of turned into what Dontre Wilson was supposed to be, kind of a guy that wasn't going to carry the load 35 times from the backfield, but you could mix him around. He was probably going to get 12 to 15 carries. Then you get him out on the slot or out wide, and you really have some fun with him. Last year, but really implemented himself into the passing game with 22 receptions for 2 touchdowns. And it was 2 years ago he got some work on the ground before Zeke Elliott, as you mentioned, really became the workhorse the second half of the season. He gained almost 400 yards rushing, did Curtis Samuel, with 6 touchdowns. So they should have some fun working him into the offense and maybe even more.
The one thing they have to do is find a way to get him involved in key points of ball games. Urban Meyer has talked about it year after year after year for the Brooklyn native. I mean, this is a guy that started. He had 100-plus yards against Kent State in 2014, really showed as a valuable backup running back, even when Ezekiel Elliott took over in 2014, makes a transition to wide receiver. Even with Urban Meyer saying, we got to get this guy 50 plays per game, he wasn't in valuable situations. I would say about 75% of his plays came on first down. When you look even in the passing game on third down situations, he was only used 5 times throughout the whole year, 2 times on third down in long situations. This is a guy that has to be involved in the offense. When you're talking of a guy that's supposed to be Dontre Wilson, you have to get him involved, whether it's running or throwing. I tend to believe, in my opinion, he's more valuable as a running back, but you just have to get him involved, plain and simple, no matter what his role is if that's at tailback, if that's at H-back, if that's at wide receiver, he has to be involved in the big plays as one of the returning guys that is just unbelievable as a skill guy. Not only is he going to plow you over, he's going to be able to find space, he's going to be able to make the running that needs to happen and the running situations that need to happen to find open field. And if you have Curtis Samuel on your roster, yes, 50 plays are important, but I would take 25 plays that are in key situations. You just got to get them on the field.
Yeah, fun guy to watch all over the place in space, drives defenses crazy. Joe, you know as well as I do, or anybody in college football, that tailback at Ohio State, you think of marquee players. If we take it all the way back to Archie Griffin and all the way through to Zeke Elliott, whether it was Keith Byers or Beanie Wells, we could go through a number of guys. There's usually that one guy. There's rarely been a running back by committee situation at Ohio State. So Mike Weber, maybe not this year, but he would probably be the guy that's the odds-on favorite to be the next star player at tailback at Ohio State.
I'll tell you this much, just watching tape from practices, I would not want to tackle that guy or be ran over by him. He reminds you of Zeke Elliott in that way that he can go through you, around you, and he can do whatever needs to be done to gain yards, and he's not afraid to do that. That's what we've seen through practice tape so far. Now, again, as a young guy, he hasn't seen the field. We don't know what that reaction will be at first. We don't know how he will adjust to that. He could be Curtis Samuel as a freshman stepping up and doing really well as a running back right away. He could be like other freshmen that didn't get that opportunity. I tend to lean towards Mike Weber as the feature guy at the end of 2016. Now, does that mean in the first 5 games that he's going to get 20 plus carries? No, I don't know about that, but 15 to 20 range by the end of the season and having a major impact, that's what this offense is betting on and what they're hoping for from Mike Weber. And again, we talked about this with the quarterback situation. What's going to be key in the fall is the guy that is attentive to detail offensively, not just carrying the football, but making in the decision-making situations, whether it's receiving in the read option or blocking. That's what we forget about replacing Zeke Elliott. Not only is he a great runner, a big play runner, he's the best blocker that has been at Ohio State at that position ever. And if you can replace that with 3 guys, you're going to be happy, but they're going to look for a feature back at some point, and I think Mike Weber's that guy.
And the riches continue with the recent signing of Antonio Williams, rated in the top 10 at running back out of North Carolina. May not be in the mix here in 2016, but Buckeye fans can look forward to seeing him on the field considerable time from 2017 forward, we would think, Joe.
Yeah, this is a guy that is in much of the Dunn mold, much of the Elliott mold. He's going to lower his shoulder. He's going to gain yards, but he also has the ability to be an athlete, and that's what you look for at running back. It's amazing to see the transformation of that position through Urban Meyer from his time at Florida to Ohio State. Didn't have a 1,000-yard rusher till he got to Ohio State. Carlos Hyde becomes that. Ezekiel Elliott does it twice. Now the expectation in the Urban Meyer offense is to have a running back that can gain you 1,000 yards on the ground, if not more, score touchdowns, and move the chains. And it's interesting to see that development change when it comes to recruiting at Ohio State.
All right. His podcast is Script Ohio on V Sporto's Buckeye Sports Radio Network. Joe Dexter from Buckeye Battle Cry joining us here to break down a running back situation that's up for grabs at Ohio State. We appreciate the time, Joe.
Thanks for having me, Mark.